and welcome back. You find us in Lincoln on a little excursion into town. Now, we hadn't really planned on going into Lincoln, but the sister-in-law had an appointment in there and she said, oh, well, I could drop you in town for a few hours. So we thought, oh yeah, we're going to have a look at the cathedral, because that is all we thought was there. Just Lincoln Cathedral really, and not a lot else. Boy, are we wrong. Didn't know about the castle at all. In fact, I don't think any of us knew about the castle. And it was an amazing place to go and see, and there's so much history there, and I would strongly recommend a visit. We went back the following day with Mum and David for a bit of a better look round, but Julia and I will definitely be going back for a look round. There's so much to see. So anyway, I mean, what 3 words which I will use throughout these videos, and I've been using throughout these videos. So you'll see I'll keep popping up the pictures, and there'll be a little 3 words tag to show you exactly where I am. And if you come onto their website, you can find out exactly within 3 meters of where I was. You got the castle and the cathedral. This is where we started our little journey, parking up there, and we're going to take you round the castle into the cathedral square, or what I call the cathedral square. It's between the castle and the cathedral. Then we're going to go round the cathedral. We're going to come down this little road here. Well, it's not a road actually, it's a footpath. It looks like a road, but it's not. You're definitely going to get a car down it. And then we're going to drop down into town, and we find ourselves down by the marina here. We had a meal down there, and then we're going to work our way back up the high street and right out towards Chapel Lane and return to our vehicle. So a closer view of where we were. Parking, loads of parking in Lincoln. I had a look online about park and ride, and after a little bit of investigation I found out the park and ride charges per person. Once you have 2 people in the vehicle, it's then more expensive than parking in town for the whole day. Ridiculous, absolutely madness. Anyway, so we parked just outside the castle gate, and as you can see there's parking everywhere, and we had no problem at all with parking. So we started on Westgate, we walked around St Paul's Lane, up this little slip lane here, I can't remember the name of it, and then that took us down into the courtyard area, sort of in between the castle and the cathedral. So Castle Square is where it is. We went for a walk round the castle. All the tours were booked sadly, so we didn't get a chance to go in any of the things. And Lincoln Crown Court has got the Magna Carta on display at the moment. How long it's going to stay there for, I don't know. I have actually seen it before when it was in Canterbury. So you can see Steep Hill there. We went through into Lincoln Cathedral grounds, round Minster's Yard, and Greenstone Place is where we came down. There's a graveyard here, which is quite interesting. Very old graveyard, nothing there modern at all. So down Greenstone Place, and some lovely little bits and pieces I've taken in photographs of down there. It was quite an interesting little route. Down here there's a very steep staircase down here with what looks like the original pathway, which was just a path, no steps. On a wet day I'd think you'd just slide from one end to the other. Down here, and this is just like a bit of a main road, ring road. It's not very attractive at all, and there's a place that I'd fancy visiting. I've got a picture of this building, very nice looking building, but the Usher Gallery. And then we came back down into town, and I think we came down Main Street, I think, and dropped down possibly Water Lane down into the marina area, and we had a meal at the Royal William. Now, I hadn't realised there was a canal running through Lincoln either, so that was a bit of a surprise. All this area looks quite developed with all the main food places. We sat at the Royal William, had a lovely meal, while we watched people queue for 3/4 of an hour maybe to go into Wagamama's. Absolutely ridiculous. We'd sat down, had our meal, had a drink and left before some of those people had got in there. Crazy, but nice area. On the way back we come along this little path here and notice the name of the path. Yep, seems very inappropriate, but this little path leads you along through a little archway up through a little tunnel here and brings you out on High Street, and then it's a tall stroll up and up the High Street, and then it splits off and then goes up to the Cathedral, and there's the really steep hill, which is quite steep, surprisingly enough. So that takes us back up to where the Cathedral Castle is, and then we find our way up, and what remains of the original city wall up here. Quite interesting viewing. And then we just went down Chapel Lane and back to the car. There's a water tower here, which is I put a couple of photographs in there of it. Considering it's a modernish structure, it looks quite fantastic actually. So at the corner of the castle wall, one thing I obviously needed to do was clean my lens because it looks like a lot of dust on it. And this interesting herringbone pattern, if anybody has any ideas what that's about, seems a little bit out of place. In the background you can see the cathedral. Like I say, plenty of parking in this area and information plaques. I think this was in the second car park down from us. And I spotted in the wall what looks like a gate. It could be a water exit or something like that, because I believe it leads through or under the bathhouse, which is on the other side of this wall, but I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't really find any information on it. So we're now in the area between the castle and the cathedral, and we're leading into the castle because that was the first place we visited. This I would have liked to have had a walk round. It was locked up unfortunately. So this is the outer cullis, and this is the area in between the two entrances into the castle. So basically you're in between the two parts of the inner and outer wall. So there's a link to where I am, and just inside the inner wall is a nice bronze map of the castle and its grounds. And I'll take you for a quick pan round from this end. Interesting that some of the defences on the wall were square and some were round. Obviously different periods. I believe this was built or started to be built around the same time as William the Conqueror, so more or less the same time that Oxford Castle was built. Nice shot of the Union Jack there. looking a little bit weathered. But then aren't we all in these times? Now this, I believe, was a prison at some time, now sells ice cream. So I think that's a fair trade, to be fair. Happy Movies Week, good. Now this, I think, was an education centre, not open, as much wasn't, and just behind that education centre, between the wall, was these loads of interesting little bits and pieces, and that almost looks like a coffin, but I don't know. Dotted around these plaques, some of them in the grass, so you can quite easily miss them. And this is the courthouse, and at the moment it's got the Magna Carta. That's the bathhouse I was telling you about, and a king, I can't remember which one it was. You'll have to go along and have a look for yourself. So with that, we headed back off across Castle Square to the cathedral. Now the old wooden building on our left was at some time or other a bank, and I'm pretty sure it was left to the city. So this is the entrance into the cathedral. Being from near Canterbury, we've got a beautiful cathedral, and Lincoln is no exception to that. Looks like it's been undergoing some restoration work, and it was all closed, no access. Again, I don't know whether that was the restoration work or whether COVID lockdown, I don't know. So we couldn't get into the cathedral. This is the back of the entrance to the cathedral, and some of the houses in the courtyard between the two. So this is the top of Greenstone Place, and the sort of courtyard area basically that leads down this path. And this is in the garden of one of the houses down that path. Quite interesting little statues. And about halfway down, you get this archway which leads to the stairs. And a very wonky lamppost at Greenstone Terrace. And there's the stairs starting. As you can see, that I presume was the original entrance path, which I really wouldn't want to stand on a wet day. And we're right down in town now, headed towards the marina. So a bit of a jump there in gap, but I believe this was a little tour canal boat. You could take tour up and down the canal. Again, even just the canal basin's got some history to it. If you ever look, you can find out. It's quite interesting how it came to be, because it really wasn't opened up like this. I think it was all artificially dug out. Now the area behind us is full of bars and all the named high street restaurants. We chose not to go in any of those, and there was a pub down the end, the Royal William. No idea why it was called that. It had a bit of history on the outside, but it didn't say what relation the pub was to that. But we sat there, had a meal, had a drink, and there were still some people queuing to go into Wagamama's that were there when we sat down. There's a little pathway here to our left. That is the glory hole. Or is that the glory hole? I don't know. But the path is named the glory hole. And they are just about to pass through it. This was looking back towards the marina. And I've got no idea where we were going. We were just ambling around.
That looks nice, doesn't it?
Please wave back. Luckily she spots the people coming through on the canoe and courteously slows down and just drifts past them.
I love doing that. Remember when we used to go?
Yeah, I know, I'd love to do it again.
And you can see through the gap on the right hand side people walking up and down the high street. So that building is actually on a bridge, and the bridge goes over the high street. I'll show you the other side of it in a minute. I think that's a very nice way to see the city. So a few more photographs. Spiral staircase, I really did like that. So this is the other side of that building. We're now standing above the river. So heading back up the high street, and you come to, I presume it might have been a part of the city walls, I don't really know why it's like it is. But from here on it pretty much leads up to the cathedral. This was a pub, or had been a pub at some time in the history. A large number of old buildings on the way. The main street seems to be well preserved, and this was an interesting little shop. Full of gauges, electrical parts, radio parts, plane parts, all sorts of bits and pieces. I'm amazed a little shop like this can still survive, but I'm wonderful that it does. So we're looking up towards the cathedral now. There's some interesting buildings with some plaques available to read upon. Get a chance to see the steep hill coming up, and it is steep. A lovely little well, well presumably it was a well, it's now turned into a pump. And to show you how steep it is, let's give you some idea. put this on just purely for my mate, nickname Rowley. That's for him. There's a little bit of seating area here as well, for people to catch their breath if they're not too fit. Some nice views. Again, if you go to What 3 Words website and just tap on any of these links, the staircase was interesting. The door on the left is higher than the window you can see on the left, and on the right there's this little cubby hole bit. No idea what that's about. As I was saying, the links to the pictures, if you just type that in, What 3 Words website, and it would take you to exactly where I was standing. Back in the castle square, and that's the top of Steep Hill. Seems you could get a horse and cart ride, which is good. Now we're heading along Bailgate towards Newport Arch. This is just a couple of little doorways we found on the way. Some interesting old buildings. Now this is Newport Arch, and there's an information plaque there, and it seems it was originally part of the Roman wall. And there's the tour. Don't know what his route is, but from here on we were just heading back to the car park, and this is the water tower I told you about. Police officer has got an interesting job title. So with that, I'll leave this video here. It's been long enough, and you can just enjoy our sunset as we did. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, click the bell, blah blah blah. It all helps, and it keeps us higher on the watching list. Don't earn any money from it, but anyway, thanks for your time.